If Scuderia Ferrari were a patient, the result of the Canadian Grand Prix would be the equivalent of a code red in the ICU. But the disease is much older and deeper than a single bad weekend. And now, thanks to a brutally honest analysis from The Race, one of the most respected sites in the world, we have the complete diagnosis of the failures that are paralyzing the most famous team on the planet. Hey everyone, and welcome back to F1 Fanatics. I'm Matt Coleman, and if you're a true fan of the sport and want to stay on top of everything happening in Formula One, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our analysis and news. Today, we're not going to talk about rumors or what could have been. We're going to dive into the autopsy of Ferrari's 2025 failure, using the surgical analysis from The Race to expose the three critical areas where the Maranello team is failing, massively. The disappointment with Ferrari in 2025 is palpable, but according to The Race's analysis, the mistake didn't start in Canada or in Spain. It started on the drawing board. The SF25 isn't necessarily a slow car. The problem is that it's a car with a tiny operating window. To extract its maximum potential, it demands nearly perfect track conditions, temperatures, and setup. Any variation, and it becomes unpredictable and difficult to drive. It's a project that seems to have been born tired. It has no clear philosophy. It's not the king of the straights, nor the master of slow corners. It's a compromise car that in the end doesn't excel at anything. And this lack of a fundamental identity is this season's original sin. The first major failure, The Race points out, is the technical concept itself, and more importantly, Ferrari's rate of development. While we see McLaren, and more recently Mercedes, bringing upgrade packages that transform their cars and yield immediate results, Ferrari seems to be one step behind. The upgrades arrive slower, and when they do, the performance gain is marginal, insufficient to close the gap to the front. This points to a serious problem back at the factory in Maranello, a potential slowness in the correlation between wind tunnel data, simulator data, and actual on-track performance. The team seems to be in a cycle where it can't fully understand the problems of its own car, and, consequently, can't develop effective solutions at the speed modern F1 demands. Even if Ferrari had the best car on the grid, it would be useless with the operational execution we've seen in recent races. And this is the second massive failure highlighted by The Race. The Canadian Grand Prix was the perfect example. The failure to listen to Charles Leclerc's feedback about the condition of his tires, choosing instead to follow a predefined, rigid plan, was an amateur mistake. The lack of clarity in communications with Lewis Hamilton, leaving him in the dark about his loss of pace, was another. This isn't bad luck. It's a symptom of a cultural problem, a possible rigidity or even arrogance on the pit wall that refuses to be flexible and adapt strategy in real time. In today's F1, where races are decided by details, this inability to react dynamically is fatal. Ferrari isn't just losing to its rivals on the track, it's losing the chess match of strategy. The third and perhaps most complex failure is the human one. Ferrari has, arguably, one of the strongest driver pairings on the grid, but the team seems incapable of getting the best out of both at the same time. The SF25, being a compromise car, doesn't perfectly suit either Leclerc's style, who likes a more agile rear end, or Hamilton's, who needs a more stable front. The result is that both drivers are forced to fight the car, rather than driving in harmony with it. The arrival of Hamilton, which should have elevated the team's level, has actually exposed these fractures even more. Coming from a system like Mercedes, where the synergy between driver and team was nearly perfect, his standard of excellence is sky high. His frustration with the slowness and the operational errors isn't just that of a driver. It's that of a champion who knows, from experience, that this is not how you win championships. He's not just driving, he is, unintentionally, performing a real-time diagnosis of all the Scuderia's weaknesses. With these three massive failures, technical, operational, and human, the question that remains is there a cure? The decision to focus on 2026, which we've already discussed here, seems to be an admission that the 2025 disease is terminal. There isn't much that can be done. The real question is whether Fred Vasseur is the right surgeon to perform the complex operation that Ferrari needs to avoid repeating these same mistakes in the new era. He needs to fix not just the car, but the factory, the pit wall, and the team's culture. It's a monumental task. The pressure on him is immense because time is running out. Adrian Newey is already working at full steam at Aston Martin. Mercedes already has a reputation for getting new engines right. Ferrari can't afford to enter 2026 one step behind, again. The final diagnosis from the race's analysis is clear. Ferrari's problem isn't a simple headache. It's a chronic disease with multiple pockets of infection, a flawed car concept, a failing race operation, and complex human dynamics. The 2025 season may be lost, but the actions taken now to cure these failures will define whether Ferrari enters the new era as a real title contender, or as the same old team, bogged down by its own legacy and repeating the same mistakes. Now I ask you, which of these three flaws do you think is the most severe and most urgent to fix? And do you believe Ferrari has the ability to cure itself in time for the 2026 revolution, or are we seeing the beginning of another lost decade? Leave your full analysis in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Take care, and see you next time.